regulations, fees, and increased liability exposures. She exposes the connections between global trends of man-made corporate military control technologies and weaponized frequencies and other programs intended to cause damage to health, reduce the population, and eliminate our freedom. Deborah, welcome back. How are you today?
Thank you so much. All feeling from the organized weather assaults right now. I know in your basic geographical location, you're the ongoing ZETA hurricane that has breached levees, as I mentioned here in California. We too have had just back-to-back fires, severe smoke conditions, certainly injuring our health, and we've had so many blackouts that I can hardly see the light anymore. And we're going to talk about a number of facts today, and the discussion is not intended to scare people. While you will hear things that can be scary, I want in your minds to consider your workarounds. How are you going to survive these attacks? Because it does not matter who wins these elections. We have all lost.
Right.
And we are.
I just want to say, before you go any further, you mentioned the elections. I know that's where we're going to start. And I just want to say something before you get started, because I know you have a lot of information to present.
So did we not just start, or are you going to?
Oh, no, we're started. I just wanted to make a comment before you get into it about the elections, that I believe that people are looking towards one of these, what I call puppets, to actually make a difference and actually change things and make things better. And people are hoping that an election is going to fix everything. And I know for a fact that it is not, that there's already a selection made and the plan is going to be in motion, and it won't be up to any politician or leader to save us. It's only up to us, I believe. And I'm sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
Well, that's absolutely true. As I was saying, Chris, it doesn't matter who wins. We've all lost. And we are really on our own, as you had said. And no one is coming to save us. So with that in mind, as I roll out information, I want everybody that's listening to this to consider what your options are and to consider them quickly and start hardening up, and I'll go over some opportunities around that as well, Chris. So I want to bring people back to the understanding and the platform in which we are going to go forward today, and that's that we are in a corporate government system, and all of our federal and state governments are not real under the illusion that we have representation. That does not exist that way. What we have are agencies, a network of privately owned corporations called governments, and they're all agencies. Even our judges, thinking about the newly appointed Supreme Court judge, they're all privately employed administrators called judges, and the law is nothing more than their corporate regulations called statutes. And the laws have been created by these government agency corporations. They're all private corporation regulations, and they're called public law, statutes, codes, and ordinances to conceal their true nature. And when you look at Senate Report 93549 that I refer to often, and the reason that I'm spending a little time on this right now is just to underscore that these elections are just a sideshow. In fact, this is the elite's political stage to just laugh at us, essentially. This is just an agenda. The politics is an agenda. And when we look at Senate Report 93549, the American Powers Statutes, it's important to understand that in order to maintain the dictatorial, remember this word, dictatorial control and authorization of the many divisions, the agencies of the executive branch, the sitting president must formally declare a national emergency every single year. And every sitting president has done that. Just going back to Obama, who officially extended the national emergency in 2012 and 2013, and of course, the same has been done by Trump. And this has been an ongoing ritual since 1933. According to Senate Report 93549, once the emergency is declared, all common law is abolished. The Constitution has been abolished. And we fall under the absolute will of government or public policy. And we're under a system of public policy or work powers. And all the governments and corporate agencies need to continue with this plot against all of us is to have public opinion on their side. If public opinion can be kept in sufficient degrees on the side of the corporate government illusion, statutes, laws, and regulations, and executive orders can continue to be passed. The Constitution has had no meaning. The Constitution was long ago suspended. So I want to bring us back to some of the most recent executive orders, and then we're going to go over some news. And it's important to remember that the current CEO of USA Inc., that's how you have to think about it, that would be Trump, brought in a number of executive orders. First of all, and not necessarily in this order, the expeditious rollout of broadband, aka 5G, across the United States. And what was brought to our attention recently out of Nashville, Tennessee, was the deployment of 5G. Now, I covered on a separate video about 5G and what we discovered with photographs that some of our investigative traveling reporters sent to us, is that on these 5G boxes, there was a word that we had never ever seen before. And where we tracked this box was through Israel, technology through Israel. The United States is paying Israel billions and billions of dollars to track us here in the United States. And so I want to bring that to everyone's attention. I also found it very interesting that the last presumably presidential debate was held in Nashville, and it was just a few weeks prior to that debate that these 5G boxes were being deployed in the downtown area. And that, of course, would be for mind control and control of the citizenry there as well. But we must understand what we face. And
now, Deborah, before you go on from the 5G, you said it would be used for mind control. Is there any documentation or anything that we have that can kind of elaborate that and kind of substantiate that?
Well, 5G and all of the frequencies are certainly used for mind control. And I have so many documents up on our resource document tab on stopthecrime.net. And I have many, many testimonies of targeted individuals who have been assaulted physically and mentally. And I recently did some videos with that are a compilation of what Dr. Carol Rosen said, along with what Tesla said about mind control. So I would refer everybody to these in-depth discussions about frequencies, because microwave radiation frequencies and Wi-Fi mind control also is many symptoms as well. And we discussed that, how many of the frequency symptoms are COVID symptoms. And we've discussed in the past how just months before the hellacious presumed COVID pandemic broke out in New York, there was a massive rollout of 5G in the lower income areas. And those are the areas that are being harder hit, presumably also by COVID. We're finding the same thing here in Sonoma County. They're really targeting the Latin community. That's our labor force, those that certainly do all of our farm harvesting from vineyards, because we're in the wine country, to farming as well. And they're being massively attacked and not able to sustain themselves in multiple generational our Black and Hispanic communities are under direct assault right now. And we must all do everything we can to alert them, to be aware of contact tracing teams that are going to be deployed strongly in those areas. There's a contact tracing team here called On the Move, and it is a grant funded contact tracing team. And when you follow the money, you find that these are financed by those that are looking to dominate the world and reduce the population. We also, some time back, discovered there's another contact tracing team called CORE, C-O-R-E, and there are many, but this is just an example. And this CORE stands for Community Organized Relief Effort. And what is very interesting about CORE is the chairman of the board is Sean Penn, Madonna's ex-husband. So we have infiltrators from all angles, and this is what is happening, and we are being literally collapsed. We're in the midst of a collapse, a massive collapse. Not even in the midst. I would say that we're pretty well gone. Just the people have not had an opportunity to surveil the degree of damage, because every day we're being pummeled by the assault weather weapons. We're being pummeled by the disinformation of the media on all levels. In fact, there's a very concerted effort, as you said, to shut down all alternative views. If they don't align themselves with the obedience requirements of the state, then we're going to be shut down, and we are. So let's talk about a few things that we're going to be